Hello everyone and welcome back to Quantifiers. Today's passage that we'll be reading is basically some sort of literary criticism. We can think about it as something that is coming from post-humanism and some sort of science fiction studies. Of course, something that is dense in terms of the concept, but not something that you cannot visibly understand or comprehend. Let us read through the passage. Donna Haraway famously pronounced, "The boundary between science fiction and social reality is an optical illusion." This statement epitomizes the myriad connections between the genre and posthumanism. Entwined discourses that ask similar questions about what it means to be human and whether the human should be the limit of our ethical obligation. So the first 3-4 lines are basically heavy in terms of the concept, also heavy in terms of the language that has been used. Now, when we look at the word epitomizes, epitomize means something that is a great or a perfect example of something. The next word that is given to us is myriad. Myriad is something that is very huge in number. So basically in this paragraph, we are trying to establish some sort of a relationship between science fiction and social reality. And we are talking about the fact that this is an optical illusion. Also somewhere we are talking about the fact that if I am a human, does it mean that being human should be the limit of our ethical obligation? Examples of post-human science fiction range from the enthusiastic embrace that is welcome of augmented, that is enlarged embodiment, past the limits of the human form, through meditation on how we might imagine a world post the anthropocentric values of humanism, to fear depictions of how contemporary techno-scientific regimes of genetic modification, neural mapping, nanotechnology, and more are fundamentally changing humanity. So basically here we are talking about the fact that should we be scared of science or should we embody our limits of being a human with the help of meditation? Rosie Bredotti defines the post-human condition as an assumption about the vital self-organizing and yet non-naturalistic structure of living matter itself. A view that can become the starting point equally for playful experimentations with the boundaries of perfectible body. For moral panic about the disruption of century-old belief about human nature, or for the exploitative and profit-minded pursuit of genetic and neural capital. So basically, यहाँ पे वो किस चीज के बारे में बात कर रहा है? It is talking about the non-naturalistic structure of living matter. We are, of course, very natural, and we are we are a living matter. But at the same time, we possess a quality that is non-naturalistic in terms of the structure. So इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये बोल रहा है कि हम एक perfectible body के साथ you can play around with the boundaries of it, right? And then we are talking about the fact various traditions and SF materialize all of those scenarios and give voice to political visions for the radical left to the ultra-conservative right. Octavia Butler creates the worlds that confront us with the difficult but necessary task of moving beyond homogeneity and anthropocentrism, while the space opera tradition often refuses to accept any end of humanity and imagines a species moving beyond the limits of the finite solar system to colonize these stars. So basically here we are given a couple of assumptions and a couple of post-human conditions where some of us or some of these people have accepted that we are very non-naturalistic when it comes to our human body. At the same time, we are talking about the left and the conservative right. And somewhere we are given the example of a particular individual by the name of Octavia Butler, who is not very open to the fact that humanity and our species are not just restricted to this solar system, but it may go beyond that. Links between post-humanist theory and the SF are most obvious to the cyberpunk subgenre that imagines fusions of humans and machines. Scott Bucketman theorizes this as a kind of terminal identity that emerges with the digital postmodern subject, while Thomas Foster argues that such fictions are a vernacular form of post-humanist theory. Now, this particular passage, as I discussed with you, is not something that is very easily understandable. Why? Because here we are talking about so many different concepts within the domain of one specific passage, right? in such kind of passages, you don't have to, get too much indulged into the technical jargon that is given. And also, you don't have to get too much engrossed with the fact that I have understood the first paragraph, I have not understood the second paragraph, I have understood a little bit of the third paragraph, I'm not able to understand the fourth. You just have to understand the basic thread, because such passages are always going to be dominated by a lot of information. Now, if you look at this particular paragraph where we are talking about cyberpunk, इसमें वो क्या बोलने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि cyberpunk जो है ये SF के बीच में एंड जो आपकी थ्योरी है रिलेटेड टू पोस्ट ह्यूमनिज्म, ये उसके बीच में जो एक गैप को ब्रिज करेगा, बिकॉज दिस इज द प्लेस वेयर द ह्यूमंस एंड द मशीन्स दे मर्ज. And then we are talking about, Thomas Foster argues that such fictions are a vernacular of post-humanist theories. Cyberpunk fiction by authors such as William Gibson, Bruce Sterling, whose mechanist shaper fiction imagines a future split between tech-oriented and biologically based post-humans. Greg Bear and Pat Cadigan has been crucial to shaping the cultural imaginary that informs post-humanism. So basically, this is talking about the fact as to how eventually, what are the theorists talking about? The theorists are viewing the cyberpunk as some sort of a practical and popular culture version. कि वो क्या बोल रहे हैं, eventually society आपकी क्या हो जाएगी? It is going to be tech driven, right? So the future of the society is something that is totally dependent on the technology. Beyond obvious connections to the technological post-humanism, SF has long imagined subjectives beyond the human value systems, premised on systems other than humanism, and on the expansion of agency and ethics to non-human actors, that is participating in a long tradition of challenging what Elaine Graham calls the ontological hygiene of Western cultures. Here we might read Bruno Latour's Aramis, The Love of Technology as a kind of post-human SF, and there are myriad, that is multiple examples of SF that focus on animal protagonists whose sentience, that is intelligence, is either raised by technology or newly recognized by non-anthropocentric culture. Basically, here what we are talking about, we are again talking about some sort of fiction. So SF हम किसको बोल रहे हैं? We are referring to the science fiction. अब यहाँ पे हम किस चीज के बारे में बात करें कि ये एग्जाम्पल दे रखा है. इस पर्टिकुलर फिक्शन में क्या है कि जो एनिमल्स हैं उनको आपने बहुत इंटेलिजेंट बीइंग्स बताया है, एंड दे आर बीइंग मैनेज्ड बाय टेक्नोलॉजी. सो दीज आर ऑल द टाइप्स ऑफ एग्जांपल्स दैट वी आर गिवन. सो दिस इज बेसिकली टॉकिंग अबाउट, हियर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ह्यूमंस, हियर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द एनिमल्स, राइट? Much of the science fiction, that is SF, especially the transcendental fantasies of human-machine fusion, remains largely humanist in its frames, imagining an augmented version of the autonomous liberal subject. Equally as much, however, it achieves the transformational capacity Gary Wolf calls post-humanism, reconceiving not only its subject as the post-human, but also transforming the very categories by which subjectivity is comprehensible. What a beautiful conclusion. So here we are talking about some post-human SFs, which remain fundamentally human-centric, because that is what we've said, that they remain humanist in their frames, right? And simply imagining some sort of an upgraded and more powerful version of a standard human. But however, यहाँ पे एक चीज हमें क्या बोली गई है? ये जो word दे रखा है, however, it is something that's very important. It says, however, when we talk about the deeper science fiction, it is achieved through true post-humanism by somehow changing how we understand identity, conscious experience, and how we understand the fact as to how humans exist. So basically, the summary of the whole of the passage is somewhat revolving around the fact that, you know, how the science fiction studies are basically coming up pretty well, and how humans are going to be depicted in the new light of technology, followed by a couple of examples that are given to us. Coming to the questions of the passage now, very paragraph specific question. Octavia Butler creates worlds that confront us with difficult but necessary task of moving beyond homogeneity, that is similarity, and anthropocentrism, while the space opera tradition often refuses to accept any end of humanity and imagines a species moving beyond the limits of the finite solar system to colonize the stars. What does the author want to convey by using this statement? अब यहाँ पे हम किस चीज के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं? वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द फैक्ट कि किस तरह से there are some people who are of this particular opinion that we are not, they find it difficult of moving beyond homogeneity, that all of us are similar. And at the same time कुछ आपके स्पेस ओपेरा वाले ट्रेडिशन वाले लोग हैं जो ये बोलते हैं कि ह्यूमैनिटी का एंड जो है यही हो जाएगा और हमारे अलावा कोई और स्पीशी नहीं है that can move beyond the limits of the finite solar system and colonize the stars. So basically जब हमने दो टर्म्स का इस्तेमाल किया, homogeneity is similarity, anthropocentrism is when we are talking about some sort of a belief or a viewpoint of the humans. अब ये एग्जांपल हमारे को ये स्टेटमेंट हमारे को क्यों दिया गया है? ऑप्शन नंबर ए बोलता है to demonstrate the range of political visions that exist within the genre of science fiction. दो क्या है? एक बोल रहा है कि homogeneity एंड दूसरा क्या बोल रहा है? सिर्फ अर्थ ही नहीं, यू कैन गो एंड कॉलोनाइज दी स्टार्स. सो हो सकता है ऑप्शन नंबर ए, क्योंकि ऑक्टेविया बटलर का मेंशन पैराग्राफ नंबर 2 में किया है, जहां पे ऑथर ये बोलता है कि काफी आपके ट्रेडिशंस हैं जो मटेरियलाइज करते हैं, गिव वॉइस टू पॉलिटिकल विजन, जो हमने अल्ट्रा लेफ्ट वाला एंड ये वाला अपना पढ़ा था कंजर्वेटिव राइट के लिए. इस पॉलिटिकल विजन को कौन अपना एक सिनेरियो या मटेरियलाइज कर रहा है? द साइंस फिक्शन. So हो सकता है we are talking about this point to illustrate the moral panic that exists within the realm. We are not talking about any sort of a moral panic here. We are talking about two different ends and how eventually those two different ends are meeting when we are talking about a science fiction. तो B तो नहीं हो सकता. To explain the dichotomy that is apparent in humanistic and post-humanistic thoughts. Option number C makes a lot of sense, but what kind of dichotomy? We are not talking about, this example is not given because we are talking about any sort of a dichotomy. Right? So A makes a lot of sense to argue that the authors of science fiction grapple with the concepts of post-humanism. They are not grappling, they are rather trying to project the humans from the perspective of technology. So the correct answer for question number 1 is option number A, which is directly serving as an example to the political vision. Which of the following is the best inference? Inference का मतलब हम बड़ी बार पढ़ चुके हैं पहले. That means a logical deduction that we are trying to take out regarding ontological hygiene. अब ontological hygiene के बारे में जो है हमें कहीं ना कहीं पैसेज में बताया गया है. First we need to understand as to what is the meaning of the term ontological. Ontological होती है जब आप humans की study करते हो related to their reality, their existence. Who are we? We are, what is our existence, what is our reality, what is the nature of reality, ये सब ontological उसमें आता है. तो ontological hygiene का mention क्यों किया गया है? बहुत categorically we need to understand कि ontological hygiene का जो mention किया हुआ है ये इसीलिए mention किया हुआ है सिर्फ ये insist करने के लिए कि जो भी हमारे humans हैं and non-humans हैं, चाहे वो आपका subject हो या object हो, nature हो, technology, उनके बीच में बहुत strict boundaries है. Right? So A बोलता है it epitomizes a non-anthropocentric culture which is challenged by post-humanism. अब challenge तो कहीं नहीं किया. We are not talking about the fact कि non-anthropocentric culture को challenge किया. Post-humanism तो खुद ही बोलता है आपका कि जो non-human like चीजें हैं उसको उसने जैसे animals का example दिया था कि उसको कहीं ना कहीं technology से drive करके उन्होंने आगे propagate किया है. It implies a traditional perspective that primarily values human-centric ethics. Absolutely correct, because here we are talking about the fact that when science fiction tries to challenge the hygiene, so that means science fiction is challenging the reality, the existence beyond the human domain, beyond something that is natural. So that means it wants to go beyond the humans to the animals or to the non-human creatures, जिसके बारे में बात किया है. B makes a lot of sense. It may adequately address the moral implications of non-human. पूरे passage में non-human entity का moral implication कुछ नहीं बताया गया है. It underscores, that is, supports the idea that boundaries between humans and non-humans are blurred. It is speaking the opposite. They are not blurred. They are very clear and very distinct and very strict, according to the traditional Western insistence. So the correct answer for question number 2 is going to be option number B. Coming to question number 3. The boundary between science fiction and social reality is an optical illusion. All of the following confirm, that is agree to this statement except. तो 3 agree करेंगे, 1 disagree करेंगे. ये बोलता है if we perceive science fiction as completely separate from social reality, we might be misled. Why we might be misled? Because it is an illusion, optical illusion. तो ये तो accept नहीं हो सकता, ये तो true है. Possibilities of what might be are often based on extrapolating from what already is. Extrapolate again means to deduce. So जो दिखता है and जो होता है उसमें फर्क है, क्योंकि वो एक illusion है. तो B भी आंसर नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि ये भी true है. Science fiction isn't about inventing fantastical, disconnected worlds. So that means it is not just about trying to invent fantastical, disconnected worlds. अगर डिस्कनेक्टेड नहीं है तो कहीं ना कहीं कनेक्टेड है, राइट, लेकिन दिखते नहीं. सो दैट मीन्स अगर दिखते नहीं है तो ये भी एक इल्यूजन है. Discourses, that is discussion about human obligation, have distinct trajectories in fiction and reality. अगर दोनों के path, trajectories of path एकदम distinct है, अलग है, तो obviously वो optical illusion नहीं है, हमारे को clearly दिख रहा है, right? It is not an illusion because there are very strict boundaries. So option number D is the correct answer. Why? क्योंकि अगर दोनों की boundaries अलग हैं तो वो illusion नहीं है, वो reality है. Right? If you look at option number C, science fiction isn't just about inventing fantastical, disconnected worlds. So that means there are some worlds that have been connected, some worlds that have been disconnected. So that means it is something that is an illusion. Clear नहीं है कि true है कि नहीं. Coming to question number 4, which of the following invalidates the argument? Nullify करना है argument को आपने. A बोलता है SF narratives encompass not just post-humanistic perspectives. अब हमारा जो passage है वो categorically ये चीज बोल रहा है कि जो science fiction है and post-humanism है, जहाँ पे technology का हमने बात किया है, ये intertwined है. So SF जो है inherently काम करने की कोशिश क्या कर रहा है? The medium for exploring and enacting. How would I show it to the readers and the viewers that post-humanism is coming? So that means we are talking about how technology are going to partake or overtake the humans. Of course, through fiction, because that is not happening right now. It is going to happen eventually at some point of time. So मेरा जो post-humanistic thought है वो shape कैसे हो रहा है? Right? It is being shaped with SF. तो अगर हम ये बोलते हैं ऑप्शन नंबर ए चूज करता है, ये अंडरमाइन कर रहा है. क्यों? क्योंकि जो हमारे फाउंडेशनल प्रीमाइस है ऑफ द पैसेज, जहां पे वी आर ट्राइंग टू टॉक अबाउट एसएफ डिफाइनिंग आइडेंटिटी, ये उसको डिस्कनेक्ट कर रहा है. सो दैट मींस दे एनकम्पास नॉट जस्ट पोस्ट ह्यूमनिस्टिक पर्सपेक्टिव्स, दे एक्चुअली डू एनकम्पास पोस्ट ह्यूमनिस्टिक. सो द करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन नंबर ए. लेट अस लुक एट द अदर आंसर्स. Cyberpunk genre espouses, that is advocates a form of post-human theories. Yes, it does. तो ये तो invalidate नहीं कर रहा है, क्योंकि हम लोगों को ये बताया था cyberpunk is going to bridge the gap between post-humanism and science fiction. SF is not just restricted to subjectives regarding humans. Animals का example हम लोगों को दे रखा है कहीं ना कहीं second last paragraph में, that they are sentient beings, and उसको display किया गया है with the help of technology. SF narratives are often focused on practical post-humanist ideas. Absolutely correct. हमारे को उस चीज के बारे में भी जो बता रखा है, जहाँ पे we've been given a couple of examples related to the subjectivity of the human value systems and how humanism and the expansion of agency is there, right? So the correct answer for question number 4 is option number A. Now, even though it was a topic that was driven by technological terms and technological concepts, but still, because post-humanism as a philosophical proposition was given, it became pretty dense. But nevertheless, even if you understand 70% of the passage, you should be safely able to manage and get through the questions and the answers. So I hope you found this passage interesting. We are going to meet with another interesting session yet again. Till then, take care and keep reading.